In the late 2000s and early 2010s, mobile gaming would quickly skyrocket in popularity following the release of the first iPhone thanks to games such as Angry Birds, Flappy Bird, and Temple Run, releasing around what many considered to be the golden age of mobile games. Among all other mobile games, however, there was one game that would become a trendsetter in the mobile gaming market, and would be the catalyst that spawned many other games like it. That game was Kick the Buddy. Developed by a company called AppZap in 2011, the main premise behind the game was to act as a stress reliever for players by allowing you to beat up, torture, and murder a sentient ragdoll named Buddy, using many weapons and objects such as firearms and explosives to name a few. Think of it as a virtual stress ball. A notable feature was the ability to put a custom photo onto Buddy's face, which reinforced the aspect of stress relieving. If you wanted to beat up your condescending ass boss after a long day of work, for example, you could. Because there's nothing more satisfying than beating the ever-living shit out of someone you hate beyond any reasonable measure. The game was considered a spiritual successor to an old Flash game entitled Interactive Buddy, which was released in 2005. It followed the same premise as Kick the Buddy, and it can be seen as the grandfather and maybe even the first in its genre that inspired Kick the Buddy. Following Kick the Buddy's release, the game was praised for its fun, satisfying, and addictive gameplay, which was hurt Buddy, earn money, buy more weapons, rinse and repeat. There were also some minigames you could play, which were nothing too special, but were there. Later down the line, a company called Crystalli would later acquire AppZap. While their reasoning for doing so is unknown, it could be speculated that they saw potential in Kick the Buddy and wanted to cash in on the game's popularity and make a series out of it. AppZap would see a demand for more content from their players. With the newfound support from Crystalli, Kick the Buddy's second kick would release in 2012. The game shared the same formula as the first game with new features and improved aspects. For example, Kick the Buddy's second kick would introduce a more polished UI, voice lines for Buddy, more weapons, improved physics, better controls, the ability to tilt the screen and make Buddy slide left or right, the ability to customize Buddy, and improved visuals. It would also become available for the iPad, which allowed people who didn't own an iPhone or iPod Touch to play the game. The game also spawned 3 spin-off type games along with a free version of the base game. The 3 spin-offs were Halloween, Independence Day, and Office themed. The free version was essentially a light version of the game, allowing the player to use a limited amount of weapons in comparison to the full game, as well as having ads. It's worth noting that the full version of the game was 99 cents before tax, which honestly wasn't that bad for the amount of content you would get out of it. Another feature that was introduced in the sequel was the addition of another currency, gold, which could be earned through watching ads or through microtransactions. Keep ads and microtransactions in mind, as it will be important for later on in the video. Overall, Kick the Buddy's second kick was a huge improvement over the first game, but it doesn't compare to the third game, Kick the Buddy, No Mercy. Kick the Buddy No Mercy was pretty much the magnum opus in the entire Kick the Buddy series. Along with adding in new weapons, backdrops, minigames, and content from The Office, Halloween, and Independence Day spin-offs, it would also add in a ton of replayability through the new leveling system and achievements. Another feature that was added were daily slot machines. Basically, every day you'd be able to spin a slot machine and earn cards to unlock new items like an alien, naval mine, tank, piano, military laser, and T-Rex. It was honestly pretty cool, and it gave players a motivation to load up the game and play each day. Eventually, in 2014, Crystalli would take all their apps off the App Store and Google Play, shortly after being bought out and acquired by another company called Crazy Lion Studios, presumably so they could entice people to download Buddyman Kick, which is considered to be the definitive version of No Mercy and a reboot for the Kick the Buddy franchise, but with the only change being Buddy becoming known as Buddyman, and his default appearance sporting a red and blue outfit. Following the game's success, Crazy Lion Studios would go on to release Buddyman Kick 2 in 2015. Aside from many UI changes, new weapons, and many other features that were in the first game, the slot machine was removed, cash was changed to Buddyman coins, gold was changed to gems, and a final blow feature would be added to the game, which was similar to Mortal Kombat fatalities. Basically, you had to kill Buddyman 5 times within a time span, and upon doing so, you'd go through a sequence of finishing off Buddyman, where afterward you'd be rewarded with coins. Kick the Buddyman Origins released in 2015 and would be the last Buddy game from Crazy Lion Studios, along with 2 other spin-off games, Mad Lab and In Soviet Russia. And unlike the previous games, these games stood out due to the drastic change in art style, donning a more cartoony and gentle look, along with being in 3D rather than in 2D. It would also be the first instance of a Buddy game having a monthly subscription service known as Premium, along with the option of purchasing each item with real-life money. Little did we know, it would be the first instance of a catastrophic future for the Buddyman franchise. However, there was actually another spin-off game developed by a completely different company in 2016, Buddyman Run. To summarize, it was an action runner developed by iDreamSky in early to mid 2016, where the objective was to get to the end of each level without running into any obstacles. It took a lot of inspiration from Despicable Me Minion Rush, as the gameplay for both games were quite synonymous, and they both had a level progression system instead of being an endless runner, like Subway Surfers or Temple Run. It's unclear how this game came into fruition, considering that iDreamSky normally specializes in publishing popular mobile games into the Chinese mobile market, but nonetheless, it would be the last buddy game to be produced before Playgendary would acquire Crazy Lion Studios in late 2016. For those who don't know, Playgendary is one of the biggest mobile gaming companies in the world, as well as arguably the greediest. Many people have criticized the company for being incredibly stingy when it comes to subscriptions in their games that are expensive in itself, charging players stupid amounts of money for features that just aren't worth the price, as well as even stealing other content creators' works for their advertising. In 2020, Rusty Cage, a YouTuber most known for creating the Knife Game song, made a video talking about how Playgendary used his song in an advertisement for their game Swordmaker.
There is an old tradition, a game we all can play. You start by getting liquored up and sharpening your blade. You take a shot of whiskey, you grab your knife and pray, and spread apart your fingers, and this is what you say. I love knives, I really do. I have a passion for knives.
On top of that, he would also mention how they took footage from people's gameplay videos and would overlay their reactions onto gameplay of whatever game they were advertising. They would even go as far as to do this to the late YouTuber Etika to advertise their game Party Masters, which is diabolical. They also made ads for Kick the Buddy, and it would land the company into some hot water when some of the ads would show Buddyman calling the user gay and saying that their mom was fat. While their method of advertising was to essentially rage bait people into downloading their microtransaction-ridden apps, it's still pretty disgusting for them to use homophobia, copyrighted works, and a deceased YouTuber to attract more downloads, and it just shows the kind of company Playgendary is. And what they did to the Buddyman franchise only further drives that point home. Before they re-released Kick the Buddy, they went on to experiment with the game's engine by developing a game called Despicable Bear in 2016, which was essentially a carbon copy of Kick the Buddy Man Forever, but with a bear character instead. The following year in 2017, Kick the Buddy would officially be re-released. While it did introduce the same visuals with some new ones mixed in, as well as a new and arguably bad UI and the same items, it would also introduce an absurd amount of microtransactions, a stupidly expensive subscription service, and constant pop-ups and ads at least every 30 seconds. The worst part was the fact that Playgendary had the audacity to lock some items and features, like blood of all things, behind a paywall or the premium subscription, which is $6.99 per week, $18.99 a month, or $94.99 per year, all before tax, which is absolutely outrageous for a mobile game. It feels like they're making items and features that were previously free only available to subscribers so they can have a lame excuse on why the price of their premium subscription is so high. As mentioned before, the OG Kick the Buddy and Buddyman games had a free and paid version, so you could try out the free version as a sort of demo, and if you liked the game, you had the option of buying the full version for only 99 cents before tax, which is by far a much better value than what is offered today. The whole point of the free version was to give players a taste before incentivizing them to buy the full game. And even so, the OG free version, while it did have ads, didn't have constant pop-ups every 30 or so seconds, and the ads weren't as intrusive. Another kicker is that you have to spend $14.99 before tax to remove ads permanently without a subscription. They also tried throwing in 20 skip-its, which are essentially passes to skip ads you have to watch to unlock certain features or items, in an attempt to justify the ludicrous price. But again, $14.99 for something so insignificant just isn't worth the value. They are absolutely upcharging their customers for no reason, and it really shows just how greedy of a company Playgendary is. While I could talk about Kick the Buddy Forever and Rocket Buddy and Playgendary's Kick the Buddy Second Kick, there's honestly not much to say about them. Kick the Buddy Forever is just Kick the Buddy Origins and its spin-offs put together in one game. Rocket Buddy is just a cheap Angry Birds clone, and Kick the Buddy Second Kick is literally just the first Kick the Buddy game, with the only changes being the UI being ripped from No Mercy and more ads that are more intrusive than the ads in the first Kick the Buddy game. Other than that, it's quite literally a lazy clone of the first game. There's nothing to it. Kick the Buddy and Buddyman Kick were very fun games back when they first came out, but ever since Playgendary decided to buy the rights to the franchise, they have completely ruined it with the constant ads, the paywalls, the subscription service, and the horrible and intrusive UI design. They have not only tarnished the legacy of buddy games, but they are also arguably the biggest example of how not to bring back a beloved franchise into the modern mobile gaming market. While it is safe to say that the mobile gaming market in general shares the same trends in corporate greed, Playgendary is probably the worst example of it, and they set a clear example of how greed can ruin a beloved franchise. While Kick the Buddy is as widely recognized as it ever has been compared to when it first came out, it's unfortunate to know that many players are probably burning holes in their wallets just to have a decent to wholesome experience playing the game, when it wasn't like that back in the day. To end this video off, if you're looking to replay Kick the Buddy games for nostalgic reasons, or to check it out if you're a new player, you're better off downloading the APK files to the original games and playing from there instead of giving a dime to Playgendary. It's just not worth it. With that said, please feel free to leave your favorite memories of playing Kick the Buddy or Buddyman Kick in the comments. Thank you for watching.